Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Left Fresh Podcast. Welcome back for those who already know and those who just getting in, just getting tapped in. If you are for the first time, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, share. Welcome aboard. But it's that time in the middle of the week, that sports midweek talk, that live chat for the Left Fresh Podcast. Like I said, if you're on, you know what time it is. Welcome all. Hope you all having a great week, getting over that proverbial hump. I'm here to help you there. Um, yeah, it's been a great, crazy transpirings of sports events happening. So yeah, we at that midway point. A good time to get everybody caught up and tapped in. See, recap everything that happened so far up to this point and get you all ready for what's bound to happen. One of the biggest events is NFL draft tomorrow. It's the big, is what I've been leading up to up until this point for the last couple of weeks on the show. It's all culminating to an end tomorrow night. NFL draft on ESPN. You also got NFL, NBA playoffs in full swing as well. It's a lot going on right now. So much going on right now. I almost didn't know where to begin. Like I said, hope you all been enjoying it. If you haven't, I'll let you know, catch up where you at. But yeah, definitely was a lot going on. It was like trying to say where to keep up at, where to go with, what to start with. I almost didn't even know where to where to start as far as the show. So, yeah, I figured I got it all lined up for you all. So if you all just jumping on, like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share, tell a friend. You can find me on Instagram at This Is Left Fresh. You can find me on TikTok at This Is Left Fresh. You can find me pretty much that's where you can find me at. But like I said, I'm not gonna delay you. Let's get right into it. Where to start? Like I said, we got NFL draft tomorrow. We got NFL NBA playoffs in full swing, like first two games so far in the first round. Um, and we just finished WrestleMania, a two-night event over the course of the weekend that was big. Had a lot of cameos, a lot of celebrities in the house. Had the Hall of Fame and everything leading up to it. Had a lot of festivities around. John Cena was hosting. You had Stephen A. Smith out there. You had Tyrese Halliburton. You had Joe Jonas. You had Daniel Cormier. You just had a whole plethora and array of wrestling fans in attendance. And, you know, two-night event. I think the first night wasn't quite as good as the second night. The second night came home strong though. First night was kind of like I guess the warm up night, I guess. But yeah, the Sunday night definitely came through and delivered. Um, like I said, to warm it up, the matches I was talking about that I wanted to see, was just four of them really that I really wanted to see more than anything else to see the outcome of it. I'll be happy to tell you all the results just to warm things up before we get into the NBA playoffs and the NFL draft. Like I said, those who just jumping on, appreciate it. Welcome. Subscribe, like, comment, stop by the channel and everything like that. I'll have more engagement stuff along with the live stuff going on. Like I said, you can find me on Instagram at This Is Left Fresh. You can find me on TikTok at This Is Left Fresh. But yeah, like I said, not going to delay you any longer. One of the key matches that I was looking forward to, of course, I'm going to start with the actual world title matches. Um, First one was the WWE title, Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. That was a great match. Started off kind of rough though. Yeah, the whole Pat McAfee stunt and Jelly Roll jumping off one table and splashing on, doing a big splash on Pat McAfee through a table and everything. And I was like, that was pretty funny, but it was like, yeah, I'm ready to get back to the match though. At the same time, though, man, because I was like, like I said, it's part of the festivities and everything like that. But I wanted to see the actual match more than anything else. Two great wrestlers in the ring, uh, second, third generation stars, basically. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton. Randy Orton, legendary career, over 20 years strong. Cody Rhodes at pretty much the height of his career. One of the key things about this match I wanted to see is the history they had between them as far as storyline was the whole legacy. Randy Orton started off his career early as part of a faction with Ric Flair and Triple H and Dave Batista, and they were Evolution. And then once they broke up and dissolved, he started up his own with a Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase's son, Ted DiBiase Jr. and Cody Rhodes. So seeing them split and go on their courses of their career and meet up at this point was, a pretty good storyline. Um, I thought that a lot of people thought I saw a lot of discourse online saying that a lot of people thought that Cody Rhodes would actually lose the title to Randy Orton. He would drop the title at this event. So A lot of people were shocked that Cody retained the title, but he did. And for the cinematic effect, Randy Orton attacked him after the match. Beat him down, busted him up, and then dropped it, and then stood over him with the title. But yeah, nevertheless, Cody Rhodes still champ, maintained his title. He's had some pretty good matches at WrestleMania. This one was not the best one, but it was a pretty good performance. Like Cody Rhodes, great performer. Same thing with Randy Orton, great performer. Like I said, a lot of people kind of looking at probably the storyline or just the fact that he didn't drop the belt. But yeah, I mean, nevertheless, like I said, Cody Rhodes still champion. Randy Orton at this point legendary in his career. Um, I'm gonna kind of look at most of the veterans on this card right here too, and just kind of see where we're at with them as well. Because I think, like I said, John Cena hosting it, who's from Randy Orton's era. See Randy Orton still headlining WrestleManias at this age. You wonder, how long is that going? But yeah, looks this WrestleMania felt more like a passing of the torch from the younger generation. I mean, from the older generation to the younger, of course, like the like I said, a passing of the torch, changing of the guard, moving on from Cena and Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar and that generation into the new generation or, the generation that's entering their very best years of their run. But yeah, this one right here was pretty good one. Like I said, wasn't exactly my favorite one of the matches, but I mean, but here nevertheless. The other WrestleMania match I was looking forward to, the other world title match was Roman Reigns. Once again, world champion, beat CM Punk. This was a pretty good match as well. I felt like there was two great performers. CM Punk, one of the most impactful wrestlers of the 2010s. Roman Reigns, probably one of the best world champions. Had one of the greatest runs since Hulk Hogan. He's a several bloodline roots in wrestling, a whole bunch of history in his family. Um, Probably the greatest champion of his, one of the greatest champions of his family ever at this point. One of the longest runs ever. What more can you say? He's hit that legendary mark. And, that time period, that little hiatus he was away from wrestling was, he was definitely needed. And I mean, at this point now, I think he's a little more appreciated, even more so than ever. Um, I think during his title run, it was a long time to be champion. And a lot of people were just sick of him, kind of like just a lot of uproar about him, how long he does, about him not dropping the title or anything like that. But, you know, him coming back and regaining this title right here kind of gives a more refreshing feel a little bit. We kind of seeing him again for like you know, he's definitely a household name, but at the same time now he's like, overcoming CM Punk. Like I said, this kind of feels more like a passing of the torch. CM Punk's later on in his career. Same thing with Randy Orton's and the Brock Lesnar's and John Cena's. That era is getting up there, and you know, seeing them put on good performances like this, you kind of wonder how much longer do they have to go, or how much closer they are to the last run. But yeah, they've been going for a while now. So seeing Randy Orton lose, seeing CM Punk lose, it's kind of feeling like a changing of the guard happening, and Roman Reigns continuing on his reign of dominance in WWE history. Like I said, two championship matches. They both turned out pretty good. Like I said, I wouldn't say it's the greatest matches I've ever saw, but at the same time, I'll take it. You know what I mean? It was good. Like I said, WrestleMania on Saturday was kind of mid, but it kind of picked up towards the end. This match was pretty good. I think there were a good array of moves. Like I said, CM Punk got a unique move set, along with Roman Reigns, great athlete, peak condition. So definitely, definitely it was a good match. Um, Another one here. Now this one right here was kind of up in the air about because I didn't know Obafemi was, like I felt like he was ready for the big push. He is like completely over with the crowd, meaning that like the crowd loves him. He's a big draw. Everybody wants to see more Obafemi. I didn't know if they were ready to put for Brock Lesnar to put him over just yet, and obviously he was. And honestly, like I said, it was either way. Now that he has been put over on Brock, now Brock Lesnar has put him over. I felt like it was legit, especially the buzz and the work that he's put in from NXT, working his way up, and yeah, he handled Brock. I mean, he took on the beast, and he figured it, and he won, and he came out victorious. Brock Lesnar, the legendary Brock Lesnar, the Beast incarnate. You know, master of the F5. You know, Obi didn't sell it. You know, he didn't sell it. He got right back from the F5. Um, Chokeslam Brock, then put him in the fall from grace, was finishing move, and that was pretty much it. And like I said, this is feels like part of that WrestleMania theme of the passing of the torch. I mean, you see Brock Lesnar in the ring. You know, he's at this point in his career. He's kind of proven everything he's kind of needed to prove. Kind of felt like, excuse me, kind of felt like it was his last match, or maybe close to his last match. Like I said, when you looked at Cena, you looked at the Randy Ortons, and you look at the CM Punks, and now you look at the Brock Lesnar's. These are super veteran. These are veteran stars at this point. And like I said, I mean, who knows when they got how much more they got left in them. But it felt like the glory days are behind them. They're legendary at this point. I mean, all the names I named are pretty much instant Hall of Famers in the WWE. And Brock Lesnar, of course, is one of them. He ended the Undertaker streak. He's a multiple time world champion. Um, he was the beast that many couldn't overcome for many years. He's had his ups and downs. He had his high points and his exits from WWE. But I feel like in his mid-40s, it's pretty much almost downhill at this point. Like I said, same with John Cena, same with Randy Orton, same with a lot of the great veteran superstars that paved the way. So WrestleMania is always a great time to pass that torch, put on new stars, pass it on. Obafemi looks like he's about to be their new star as well as Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes keeps on going. But this match right here, before I move on, the last match I wanted to see more than anything was, speaking of newer talent, excuse me. But as you see, Gunther took on Seth Rollins and came out victorious. Seth Rollins also a multiple time champion, former Paul Heyman protege. He came in the game with Roman Reigns. Like I said, big time superstar Seth freaking Rollins. But Gunther has been taking names for the past year and a half. I mean, from Goldberg to John Cena to AJ Styles. And now I know according to the storyline, Seth Rollins is still recovering from an injury and everything like that. But I mean, you can't go against a guy that's running hot right now like Gunther. Gunther's kind of like the big sell at this point. Like I said, he's kind of like the career ender. I'm not sure if he's going to end Seth Rollins' career, but he came out victorious in this one. Um, how this goes towards the storyline or who he's going to face next or what's next for Gunther, I'm kind of interested in finding out because, like I said, he's been taking names from Goldberg, Cena, John Cena, AJ Styles, that infamous sleeper hold. I'm interested in seeing, how he's going to get pushed or where the next direction of his push, him and Obafemi. Yeah, Triple H has really been kind of, cooking lately the last couple of years, ever since he's kind of taking it over, the creative and everything of that nature. You know, I don't think you'll ever please everybody, but there's always gonna be room for some sort of complaint or some kind of drawback. But at the same time, Triple H puts in guys who know how to work. He's not caught up on just guys that can just draw or guys that can just talk good on the mic, even though, Roman Reigns is great on the mic. Um, some of these guys are also great on the mic as well. I think we can use a little more charisma on the mic. Excuse me. We can use a little more charisma on the mic, but at the same time, there's a lot of guys in there who can work. NXT is just kind of just pumping out more talent as it goes. And yeah, I think the direction of WWE is going in a great direction. It's a big draw. ESPN is doing a great job of pushing it. You're getting a lot. You're still getting those great celebrity cameos that you've always gotten throughout WrestleMania. I think this WrestleMania right here, especially the second night, did a great job of pushing the envelope and keeping the WrestleMania tradition going and bringing back a little more spice to it and everything like that. I think WWE, in the late 2020s is really starting to pick up. And like I said, a lot of credit goes to Triple H for, you know, changing things up, switching things up, trying things new. Like I said, ESPN and WWE working together and kind of furthering the brand and furthering each other along the way. So, I think that's kind of a good partnership that's working out. Um, like I said, there's always going to be room for complaints. There's always going to be a complaint. But overall, and I think WrestleMania 42 lived up, did a pretty good job though overall. I can't complain too much. I can point out a couple pushbacks, a couple things here and there, but other than that, I think it was a pretty good show. Like I said, as far as the matches I wanted to see, I kind of got what I wanted out of it. So, and that's pretty much it for WWE WrestleMania. Those who saw it, hope you enjoyed it. Those who didn't, kind of catch the highlights, look at it. I'm kind of keeping up with it, watching the content pages as well, seeing where it goes from here. And I'll be tapped in along as it keeps going. But yeah, those who just jumped on, like I said, subscribe, like, comment, share if you haven't. You can find me on Instagram, like I said. You can find me on TikTok. But moving on to the next one, the NBA playoffs. NBA playoffs after the play-in last week, leading into the weekend. Interesting already, even after just 2 games, pretty much each out of the first round. First games look like oh, there's nothing exciting going on. It's like it's gonna be some pretty bad matchups and everything. But game two's got a lot of interesting and probably a little more interesting for my liking. We're gonna start off in the Eastern Conference, see what we got going on here. Like I said, first things first, I'm gonna start off with my Knicks. Like I said, game one looked good. Game two, I'm not happy at all. Like game one, Knicks came out pretty strong, put up a good performance. Excuse me. And then the Hawks came out. I felt like they were the team that I did not want to see out of the lower seeds. Like that was a matchup I did not want. And game two showed exactly why. CJ McCollum turned back the hands of time. And that's the thing about the playoffs. It's good to have a veteran or so in the playoffs. Somebody that knows what to do, many years, a lot of mileage. CJ McCollum put up 32 points, and he basically made no qualms about it that he was going at Jalen Brunson. Like he was literally going at Jalen Brunson. He basically said it after the game. And I mean, it was an impressive performance by him. It was more impressive than I like being a Knicks fan. But yeah, the Knicks had him, looking pretty comfortable going into the fourth quarter and just collapsed. I mean, and it was kind of my concern about the Knicks going into the regulars, going into the postseason was the defense. Towns, Brunson, um, you know, they're going to be targeted pretty much every time, especially when Jalen Brunson goes against teams that got bigger guards. And yeah. Hopefully the Knicks get it together tonight. Finish, I mean not tonight, tomorrow night. I apologize, but yeah, hopefully the Knicks get it together in Game 3. That's on Thursday, 7 p.m. I'll be watching. It's in Atlanta. I know that crowd's gonna be crazy. I know there's a lot of New Yorkers in the house as well. I'm gonna be watching from the house. Like Knicks better do something in one of these 2 games. We cannot go back to New York down 3-1. Yeah, did not want to lose home court advantage. This series should not go longer than it should, and honestly, it can't because the Hawks. I mean, and Nickel Walker hasn't even given us really a great game yet. Although he did make a great defensive play on Jalen Brunson in the clutch. But the Knicks got to find a way to get others involved in crunch time. It can't just be Jalen Brunson in ISO ball. That's kind of been my concern all season long. We're gonna have to get Cat in there and get Cat involved, man. But yeah, series tied 1-1. Another series I ain't see tied at 1-1 was the Celtics and the Sixers. No Embiid, but yeah, VJ Edgecombe, TJ Maxey. Yeah, definitely. I mean Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and Tyrese Maxey. Sorry, but yeah, Celtics got a little too cold from 3. One thing they're going to do is fire up some threes. They had a cold night, and Philadelphia capitalized off it. They tied it up 1-1. Lower seeds is really actually making a big impact in the East. I mean, like I said, going into the postseason, it was 10 teams over 500 going into the play-in, and it looks like it's pretty evenly matched. All these teams are pretty flawed, but yet very even. And looking at the 8th seed matchup, Orlando up 1-0. I mean, Detroit definitely needs to get back into that series. They can't afford to go down 2-0. Orlando, a team that everyone pretty much wrote off as for good reason. I mean, they didn't give anybody a reason to believe in them. Just came in there and just stole game one. Pistons got to find another way to get somebody else involved other than Cade. Cade had 39, didn't make a difference. Jaden Duran, got to get him involved. Got to get some of those shooters. Got to get Duncan Robinson, Tobias Harris. Somebody gonna need all hands on deck because Orlando look like they're starting to figure it out, and they got to taste the blood, knowing they can beat you. No excitement in the fourth and fifth bracket. Looks like Cleveland's probably going to make quick work of Toronto. Brandon Ingram had an awful night in game two. Harden and Mitchell and Mobley, they just look like they're just having their way with the Raptors at this point, running on all cylinders. We'll see what happens in Toronto, but down 2-0 doesn't look too suspenseful at this point. But yeah, the rest of the East, very exciting. Switch over to the West. Like I said, it's only 2 games. I'm not going to overreact, but I mean, you are seeing some outcomes that look already kind of raising your eyebrows. And in the West, same story. Nothing suspenseful about OKC and the Suns right now. I think the Suns, they put up a good fight to get into the postseason, but I don't see them going too far against OKC. I mean, like I said, we'll see what happens in Phoenix, but OKC won pretty comfortably. It's going to be tough to beat at home. I can see them going up 2-0. But, I mean, it'd be interesting. You got Devin Booker, you got Dylan Brooks, you got Jalen Green. He's going to probably need a collective effort from all 3 of them, especially going against that OKC defense. I'm going to skip around because the most surprising series, I can't believe that. The Nuggets and the Timberwolves tied 1-1. I knew this was going to be a really interesting series. 2 teams that know each other very well. So much for Joker cooking Gobert. Gobert was clamping Joker up game 2. And this is where Ant probably not 100%, but this is another thing about this postseason is that it's different. These regular season, these teams are not the same in the regular season that they are in the postseason. Excuse me. The Timberwolves, they're a much better playoff team than they are a regular season team. I think when the game slows down, teams start slowing up the pace a little bit. They are a very good defensive team. Gobert, hard to score on. You still got Naz Reid. You still got, Jaden McDaniels. Got Ant-Man. You got Conley. You got a tough, grizzled team that plays tough defense. And they're attacking Denver, who Jaden McDaniels already said is not a great defensive team. So, it's interesting to see them go back and forth. First of all, it actually seems like there's real smoke between these 2 teams. They really just kind of bumped heads enough times to where they kind of got like a little dislike for each other. And those usually make the best series. So I'm going to be following that closely. Wouldn't be surprised if that goes 7 games. If you remember 2 years ago, it went 7 games. Nuggets are good for taking a team 7 games. You got to play all 7 games for the Nuggets. All right. No matter how beat up they are, no matter who they're missing, you got to play all 7 games for the Nuggets. Okay, the Nuggets are definitely going to give you a 7-game series. I mean, pretty much. If you don't beat them, if they don't beat you, you're gonna need 7 games to beat them. I mean, they're just that tough of a team. You all seen the Spurs and the Trailblazers game last night. The first game they kind of won pretty easily against the Trailblazers. Although the Trailblazers stayed pretty close with them, respectably. They didn't just get blown out in the first game. But the second game, Wemby goes down early, hits the floor hard, no collision, just no collision contact, falls down, bumps his head really hard on the hardwood, catches a concussion, is in protocol, doubtful for game. I mean, surprising if he does play in game 3, but still a possibility, I guess. But yeah, the Spurs, not the same team without Wemby, needless to say. They started off pretty good, but then they started losing the momentum in Portland with the veterans of Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant, different, and then the mix of Scoot Henderson, Donovan Clingan. They got a solid team. Denny Avdija, well coached too. I mean, shout out to Tiago Splitter, former Spurs player that became coach in replacement of Chauncey Billups, got them playing, and they stole that game 2 and broke the home court advantage. Going back to Portland, game 3. It'll be interesting to see if Wemby plays. They're going to need another big night from De'Aaron Fox. He has to be their closer. He's pretty much the veteran along with Harrison Barnes. Um, they're gonna have to be the one that keeps this team composed and close out the series. Excuse me. But yeah, Wimby, you know, that's kind of the question mark. And not only the experience, but the durability of Wimby. He doesn't really need to play a bunch of minutes to be impactful. So I mean, that's going to be a caution. Proceed with caution for the Spurs as they try to get through this first round series. But yeah, like I said, first two games, nothing too crazy, but pretty crazy. The craziest, of course, I think everyone looking at the Lakers and the Rockets series right now, and I think everybody is surprised at the Rockets or the Lakers, shall I say. 41-year-old LeBron still going, still putting together a skeleton shift at work. Luca out, Austin Reeves out, no problem. I mean, Luke Kennard. And Rob Pelinka traded for Luke Kennard in the middle of the season. He traded Gabe Vincent, got Luke Kennard from the Hawks, and he kind of just let him sit on the bench a little bit. I mean, of course, he's not going to get the same type of shots when Luca and Austin Reeves get back per se, but he's making the most of the shots he's getting. He's knocking them down. I mean, Lakers shot 46% from three, and in game two, I have never seen the Lakers shoot that good. I don't know. I can't even remember. I don't even know if they ever shot that good with LeBron on the Lakers. Okay. That's been one of the Lakers' weak spots as long as LeBron has been a Lakers, the three-point shooting, the floor spacing. Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, DeAndre Ayton had a rough game too, but he had a great game one, 19 points, 11 boards. LeBron really, got some parts around him without Luca and Austin Reeves, and they kind of elevated and played up next to him, which is, we've seen that throughout the course of LeBron's career, his prime years, his early years, all throughout his career, he's elevated, role players and got the most out of them, which I always felt that he just kind of needed more depth than other stars, but that's another point. And, the Lakers look good, man. I mean, Marcus Smart, great, know what he does on defense. He was knocking down shots 3 for 6 from three, the other night. Luke Kennard still knocking this down. Rui Hachimura, you know, guys are stepping up in the absence of Luca and Austin Reeves and JJ Redick doing some pretty good coaching on defense and trying to limit Kevin Durant and how much he can hurt him. And get Durant back for game two. He missed game one. He came back, looked like he was pretty good still, but came up short in the second half. But yeah, Houston's in trouble. Yeah, Houston's in trouble. Um, that's the other side of it. Not to take away any credit from what LeBron's doing at 41 years old with a team that many thought was going to get swept by Houston. And honestly, I felt like that was kind of a reach. Um, I didn't think a sweep was going to happen even without Luca and Austin Reeves. I don't think Houston was that good or that functional. There was a lot of tumultuous, you know, there's like a lot of tumultuousness going on with Houston from the beginning of the season. Fred VanVleet goes down. Chemistry didn't seem like it was right. Seemed like a clunky fit. Kevin Durant is still pretty much the only real shooter on the team. Like, there's not enough consistent shooting. Last year, shooting was a problem. This year, shooting is still a problem, even with Kevin Durant. He's the only one that can hit shots. Alperen Sengun, listen, I mean, we know he was targeted defensively all year, and it's not any different in the playoffs. They're not guarding the three. I mean, that's the part that worries me about Houston. I'm not sure if they just hauled it in already. Um, They got some of the best perimeter defenders. I mean, they lost one with Dylan Brooks last year, getting Kevin Durant, but at the same time, you know, you would think that they would defend the three better. I mean, of course, the rim protection would be weak, but I mean, they can't even run shooters off the 3-point line. The Lakers are just knocking down shots, and meanwhile, Houston's not hitting shots. So yeah, it's looking bad. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm interested in seeing what type of adjustments Udoka makes, but I mean, this was a Lakers team I did see beating Houston. I said if the Lakers wanted any matchup out of the West, is probably Houston, and that was with Luca, and that was with Luca and Austin Reeves. But I mean, it looked like they may make it back in time for this series to be finished. Or I mean, if he even makes it that far, they might be let the Lakers sweep them. I mean, they'll be in the second round. I think they still got to see how far LeBron can take them. I mean, honestly, if you're the Lakers, you might want to lose a game or so. You know, you want to give yourself time because you don't want to rush into the second round against more than likely OKC, and you still just got LeBron out there. You know, you might want to stretch the series out a little bit, see if you can get Luca back, before the series is over or anything like that, or hopefully get Luca in, after the first game against OKC. But yeah, it's gonna be tough to, great that you can carry the Lakers. LeBron could carry the Lakers past Houston, but OKC is a different animal, and probably in your best interest to see if Luca can come back or AR can come back just to, before you go out there and take on the monster by yourself. Because this is gonna look, you know, I mean, Houston's dysfunctional enough for LeBron to get past by himself, but OKC is kind of like, LeBron in 2018 going against that's not I mean, you probably want to get Luca back for that. Yeah, where's Amen? I'm in it. Yeah, he's there. He's one of those great athletic defensive types that you know, can't really play point, but yet they still kind of have him bringing the ball up the court. Not a great shooter. That's got exposed last year. It's the same story this year. Houston needs shooting around him, a lot of shooting. And Kevin Durant's the only one that can actually space the floor for them. And like I said, Houston was a great defensive team last year. I mean, they kind of lost a step on the defensive side. And interesting to see what type of adjustments Udoka makes because, you know, Houston's not that beat up. It just looked, Kevin Durant's back. He had a little bit of bruise, but he didn't bruise on the knee, but he didn't look, too bad in game two. He just Houston looked out of it. It looked deflated a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised. Houston kind of looked like how Orlando looked like they're ready to haul it in. And I remember during the regular season, I was like, they were probably the biggest pretenders in the West. That's not especially a team that's pretty higher up. It's not like they're a seventh or eighth seed just fighting a way to get in. I mean, they were a second seed last year. They went to a fifth seed this year, and I think that trade for Durant, as talented as he is, it kind of gave up too much depth that they really need. They actually needed. Like Dylan Brooks, if you look at what he's done in Phoenix this year on the offense and defensive side, they could definitely have used that. They could have definitely used that in Houston this year, and you know, Jalen Green, I understand, you kind of see the ceiling with Jalen Green, but and he's very inconsistent. But I mean, there was nights where he can actually go off and he can actually produce. I think Houston was a rebuilding team. They were building through the draft, and then they just kind of fast tracked it by trading for Durant. And this is kind of like a win now mode, which is really questionable as to why they did not try to replace the point guard position when Fred VanVleet got hurt. I mean, if you made a trade for Kevin Durant, you're in win now mode. Now that you don't have a point guard, you're kind of stuck in the middle of the pack with a legendary player that's probably on the last couple of years of his career. So, Houston probably was too hesitant to make a move around the deadline, and it probably cost them. I mean, you could have used a veteran point guard. I mean, Mike Conley, Minnesota when they got Mike Conley back. Um, the Atlanta Hawks when they got CJ McCollum after they traded Trey Young. Like Houston definitely needed a veteran point guard. I mean, I know it's probably a reach to say get Chris Paul. Chris Paul may be a little too veteran, but Houston definitely needed a veteran point guard that can actually control the tempo, maintain the offense, and then most importantly, they need some shooters. It's the same glaring weakness they had last year. Very athletic. Kevin Durant just became the only player that can actually make shots for them, and that's not a good position for a player of Kevin Durant's caliber yet his age, where he's still expected to basically elevate a team, carry a team with his scoring and everything. And that's pretty much all you're gonna get from Kevin Durant is a bunch of buckets. You got to have everything else in place. You got to have the playmaking in place. I mean, he had 9 turnovers yesterday. He should not be bringing the ball up court. You got to have the rebounding in place. You got to have the rim protection in place. You got to have the parts in place in order to bring in Kevin Durant. I think Houston underestimated, how far away they were from being a championship team when they traded for Kevin Durant. And, like I said, all of these teams, there's so much parity in the league that these teams are all flawed to say the least. But you know, you gotta every advantage you gotta get just to keep ground in a league that, like I said, with so much parity in it, moves like that can cost you. And it looked like Houston might be a first round exit if there's no adjustments made. I mean, drastic adjustments, because I mean, you got to be able to beat LeBron with no Luca and no Austin Reeves. You know, I mean, it's kind of like I see a lot of people surprised that people say, "Oh, yeah, LeBron gonna get swept without Luca and Austin Reeves." Well, I didn't rule them out. I mean, I thought Houston would still kind of put up a better showing than this, but we'll see how the rest of this series plays out. How the rest of these games play out. I'm gonna watch the rest of these games when I get off this live, because they're going on right now. Playoffs nonstop. I just stopped to jump on, give you all the what's going on at this point. Discuss and engage. But yeah, I'm gonna switch gears into the final headline of the evening, main event for tomorrow. Like I said, those who just jumped on, subscribe, like, comment. Left Fresh Podcast. I do these on Wednesdays. I do hip hop on Saturday. Wasn't available on Saturday, but I will be on Saturday, this coming Saturday, 10 o'clock. I'll keep everyone posted about that. Keep tapped in on any new music, any discussions about hip hop. But yeah, like I said, it's the main event, the main topic, NFL draft tomorrow. Usually 3-day event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's gonna be definitely interesting to watch. Um, One of the things I said about this draft leading up to it is that it's not going to be a heavy quarterback draft, or pretty much any of the real premier positions that teams are find paramount. Quarterback, left tackle, uh, not very deep at those positions. Not very deep at the running back positions either. Just has the actual best at the top. Pretty top heavy at the running back position. A lot of wide receivers, but I mean, you can get wide receivers almost anywhere. But it seems like a surplus of the premium positions, like I said, the linebackers, the receivers, the safeties, more so than the actual critical meat and potatoes positions. But I'm looking forward to it nevertheless, because there's a lot of talent nevertheless. And teams are just trying to get better, and I see teams in position to do such. And I'm here to give it to you. I'm looking at the draft order right now, and I mean, I was like, yeah, it's a lot of good things can actually come from this draft, even though there isn't a quarterback, even though it isn't a heavy quarterback draft, which kind of tunes a lot of people off. But I think that you can see a lot of talent nevertheless. Like I said, the other positions, I can see some perennial Pro Bowlers or some All Pros in this draft. I mean, I think the ceiling is really that good for a couple of these picks, even though, like I said, I think what kind of makes this draft takes away the luster of some of this draft is that it isn't a bunch of quarterbacks. Um, there are some linemen though. There are some tackles, but not a lot. I think the first round draft order is really important to me. Really critical to me because, if you haven't been following, my New York Giants made a big move trading defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence to the Cincinnati Bengals for the 10th pick. And as you can see, right, you can see the Giants now have 2 first round picks. So definitely got a chance to stack some real talent in a new hardball regime. Moving on from Dexter Lawrence, wish him the best. He had a great run for us. But business is business. And that's actually a good pickup for the Bengals if they can continue to maneuver around, make some moves around it as well. You can add some more people to that defense. I mean, yeah, Dexter Lawrence, if he comes back if he gets back to full health and comes back off that off season, because I mean, honestly, like I said, I respect his contributions. Won't miss him after last season. I mean, our defense, the Giants' defense was absolutely awful, and he had a down year. So, you know, hopefully for the Bengals, Dexter Lawrence picks it back up to his usual form, because he was amazing for us up until last year. Hopefully, that's not the sign of decline. And Cincinnati just inherited him, because we got 2 first round picks, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna just go down the line. I mean, the first round, I got the first 10 picks. I'm gonna go through all 32 of these. I mean, looking at the order, because I've been talking about the top prospects for a couple of weeks now, and you've probably seen them as well. Of course, the Raiders look pretty much poised to take Fernando Mendoza, quarterback from Indiana, national title winner, Heisman winner. Raiders look like they're ready to take him with the number 1 pick. A lot of back and forth, like I said, about whether Fernando Mendoza is that type of quarterback, is he the franchise savior type of quarterback, or questions about whether he should even sit a year. They picked up, the Raiders also picked up Kirk Cousins, veteran quarterback, kind of bridge the gap for him to help his development. But I like everything intangibly about I like everything intangibly about Fernando Mendoza. I think he's got the intangibles of a great quarterback, the attitude. I can see a potential leader in him. A lot of people seem like there's some detractors that say he's a little extra and everything like that. But I mean, that's Tom Brady had that great attitude and everything like that. It's like at the same time, I want to see how he maintains and persists that great attitude in Las Vegas because that can test anybody's patience. But he's got some weapons there already. You got Ashton Jinty, you got Brock Bowers. Max Crosby hasn't been traded yet. So, I mean, either way I see it. My only question is, 'cause I've seen some talk that the Raiders maybe should trade down, but it's because it's like they're going to be bad next year. It's a matter of if the Raiders aren't running for a quarterback next year, are they going to be entertaining that, or are they going to stick beside Fernando Mendoza, depending on how he performs, of course, in the upcoming season. But yeah, it looks like it's pretty much locked that you know Fernando Mendoza is going to the Raiders. The Jets at number two. I've seen the variety of either two linebackers, either David Bailey from Texas Tech or Arvell Reese from Ohio State. I feel like you really can't go wrong with either. I think either one of them could turn out great. I think Arvell Reese is very young. I think like 20 years old. He's a specimen. High ceiling. I think David Bailey could come in and produce right away. Uh, I'm gonna say it like this, and I've seen a couple other pundits say it. And I'm gonna have to kind of echo it a little bit because I've always said this. If you're a team that's consistently at the top of the draft every year, you do not have the patience or the room to take a chance on a prospect or on a project or somebody that can develop. You need somebody that can come in right away and make an impact. And get the rebuild going. You know, they moved on from Quentin Williams, just moved on from Sauce Gardner, kind of rebuilding. You kind of just want somebody that can make an instant impact. I mean, I've been saying for the longest, I think David Bailey from Texas Tech might be the best choice for them. I wouldn't be mad at Arvell Reese, but if I had to pick, I was impressed with David Bailey and the tape that I've seen and how he looked at Texas Tech. I mean, he looked really good. I mean, yeah. So I mean, I definitely, like I said, it's tough because there's some good edge rushers, there's some good linebackers at the top of the draft, but um, I would take, yeah, Texas Tech, David Bailey. To me, that's kind of my choice at the top for the Jets. Cardinals. Um, a lot of people, you look at the needs. Everybody saying quarterback. First of all, before I go any further, the first three picks they're going to say, needs a quarterback. There's no quarterbacks in this draft at the Mendoza, which is why I think the Raiders are not trading down either. I don't think too many teams that need a quarterback are looking at quarterbacks this particular season. I've seen a lot of Ty Simpson from Alabama talk later on in the rounds. I'll get to that part later. But a lot of talk about teams that still need quarterbacks, and I'm like, yeah, I think a lot of teams are looking forward to next year's draft class of quarterbacks, and there's no guarantee that they're going to be that good either. The Arch Mannings, the Dante Moores, the Drew Alars. There's no guarantee that they're going to be, you know, and they're not going to have the same, meh look at them like these quarterbacks have either, because it's been like that for the last 2-3 years now. You know, when Shador and Cam Ward and all of them, it came time to draft. A lot of teams are looking at the rest of the QBs like, the same thing this year. Um, I think a lot of teams are looking at quarterbacks with a little more stringent requirements as far as reps and the experience factor because there's no development of quarterbacks being done. They kind of just throwing quarterbacks to the wolves. Either you got it or you don't. So quarterbacks are going back for another year. NIL is kind of contributing in that as well. And teams are kind of waiting for quarterbacks to cook a little more before they take a chance on them. Or they'll just take a quarterback in the third round, second or third, in the middle rounds and just see what they got. But nobody's reaching for a quarterback that high anymore. So I mean the Jets and the Cardinals, they just, look like they're projected to just go with I think the Cardinals might go with Jeremiah Love at number 3. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I looked at their quarterback situation from letting go of Kyler Murray, that Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew are their quarterback room. And honestly, as mediocre as that is, I can see the Cardinals going into next season like, hey, just pick one of these guys and just go with the quarterback that wins the battle between Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew. So, I mean, I haven't heard any, real needs for a quarterback out the Arizona Cardinals camp. They look like one of those teams I could just be looking at next year. Same thing with the Jets. Yeah, yeah. Welcome on Shackle. Yeah, they started to look at the age of some of these quarterbacks. Yeah, some of the age of these players. Exactly. You know, some of these quarterbacks. Teams need quarterbacks, but they're not reaching for them like they once. Like the last couple of seasons. You know what I mean? Especially when, like I said, the memo's been out. I always feel like Tom Brady kind of put the memo out there. Everybody's kind of knew about, but didn't really think about till he actually said it. Whereas, like, teams are not developing quarterbacks anymore. And you got to have the reps. So, and then some of these quarterbacks, they come in. Some of these quarterbacks, they hire on these mock drafts at the beginning of the season, but as the season goes on, the college season goes along, you start seeing these bad games or struggle games, and a lot of scouts kind of look at teams like, maybe we shouldn't reach that high for them. Maybe you see if they get them in the third round, second round. Like a lot of these quarterbacks are kind of falling to the middle rounds now. But yeah, you look at the Cardinals and the Titans. See the Titans, yeah, exactly. College players definitely staying for the NIL, getting more reps, getting paid. No rush. There's a lot exactly, and then, like I said, kind of working out on both ends. And then you see Titans, they got Cam Ward. It's all a matter of what they can build around them. Titans are projected to get another one that was slight Jeremiah Love talk, slight linebacker talk, somebody on the defense. I think the Titans are probably looking at offensive line, and I'm thinking the lineman from Miami is probably a good choice. Spencer Fano from Utah is another good choice. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Titans go for line. My Giants, big trade for Dexter Lawrence. Where we going with this? We can go a couple ways now. I mean, I feel like everything just opened up. We got the quarterback, we got Jackson Dart. I feel like with two picks, we can go for a lineman, we can go for defense. I keep hearing talk about we should go for a receiver. Cardinal Tate, pick him over the Browns, or you know, Malik Neighbors is pretty injury prone, but I wouldn't say injury prone just yet. He only had one injury, just a really bad injury. I could see us needing a receiver, but wouldn't mind getting a guy in free agency rather than drafting that high. You know, um, I mean, of course, and then Scatterbull, he's there. I wouldn't mind a running back to go with Scatterbull. I mean, Jeremiah Love is enticing if he is available that high. I mean, it's still available at number 5, but you know, but I think the skilled players and positions, I don't think we need to go for that. We need to be solidifying things under the Harbaugh regime. Another offensive lineman would be great. We need another edge. We need another defensive lineman. Um, we just kind of use a couple parts around the Giants, and I'm glad we got 2 picks to do it. So yeah, I mean, I'm thinking lineman, you know, maybe a skill player. I mean, I'm not really big on the whole skill players. Um, this high up in the draft. I think we could finally get a steal somewhere else, and we just need a fortified. It's already a rarity to get a good lineman in this draft. It's already a rarity to get a linebacker this high up. Me personally, I wouldn't mind taking Sonny Styles from Ohio State. I wouldn't mind taking a lineman, another offensive lineman. But I mean, it depends on what falls to us at number 10. I mean, we might have to take a receiver at number 10 if all the linemen and edge rushers are off the board. If Caleb Downs is off the board, I do see at number 10 the Giants may have to take a receiver or a skill player at that part. But even then, if the skill players are taken, then it's even easier for us to take a lineman or a lineman or a linebacker. So yeah, I'm looking forward to how that plays out. See our rival, the Commanders, in the mix. Like I said, they're looking probably at linebackers. Saints and Commanders are probably looking at linebackers as well. Like I said, between the Arvell Reese, between Sonny Styles, between David Bailey, whoever still available on the board. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Commanders or the Saints picking either a wide receiver or a linebacker. Um, Browns, pretty much, if Cardinal Tate is on the board, I can see them pretty much going with Cardinal Tate, receiver from Ohio State. Um, Need a weapon for whatever quarterback they got, whether it's Shador or Deshaun Watson. I can definitely see a wide receiver fitting out there in Cleveland. That's pretty much a lot. The Chiefs, Already signed Kenneth Walker Jr. They traded Trent McDuffie. I can honestly see the Chiefs if the Saints don't pick Mansour Delane, cornerback from LSU. I can see the Saints picking him up at number 9. So I can see Mansour Delane going 8 or 9. He's the best cornerback in this draft and probably one of the few cornerbacks that's going to go that high up to that point. So yeah, I can see yeah, I can actually see the Chiefs actually going for maybe an edge, maybe another lineman. Yeah, Chiefs can definitely use another lineman. Saints probably as well. So yeah, you can see pretty much at the top 10, it's like a variation of whoever's going to be left on the board between the best linemen, the best wide receivers, the best corner. I mean, there's only one corner at the top 10, and in linebackers and edges. So it's going to be interesting in that 1 through 10 range. That's definitely the part I'm going to be all eyes glued to the TV for. As you get to number 11, um, see the Cowboys. They got 2 picks, 12 and 20. They got that from the Michael Parsons trade along with from Green Bay. They still got picks to go. It's interesting to see whether the Cowboys are going to trade up. I heard a lot of talk about them trading up against Sonny Styles. Me personally, I don't think they're one player away from fixing their defense, so I'm pretty sure they're going to probably keep both those first round picks. I can see them going for an edge later on down the line. You could probably get a steal down there. One thing I'll say about the Cowboys, even though they're a division rival, they usually they've been prone to hit on some draft picks. Um, as much as I hate to say it, they've been prone to hit on some draft picks, and I don't want them to hit on those draft picks. But yeah, they've been prone to hit on some. And you give them 2 picks, they'll probably get at least one of them. The Rams is interesting though, because there's questions of if the Rams are actually going to take a reach on Ty Simpson, back him up behind Matthew Stafford. That's interesting. Ty Simpson's interesting in a lot of different angles. Yeah, there's you see the Jets back down there. They have the number 2 pick and they got the number 16 pick. Are they going to go quarterback? Are they going to take a chance on Ty Simpson? Like you said, they got Geno Smith back out there. I don't think anybody is really looking at Geno Smith as a long-term solution. So it's interesting to see if they're going to go through and pull the trigger on quarterback in this draft, or they're just going to tough it out with Geno. Um, I don't want to say tank, but Jets are not in competitive conditions. So, it's probably going to be a bad season with Geno as a starting quarterback. So they may just gear up and chase for the quarterbacks in next year's draft as well, along with Arizona and whoever else. And it's funny when it is a good quarterback draft, is because teams that you didn't even think about really needed a quarterback all of a sudden need a quarterback. When it's a really good quarterback draft, everything is for sale. Everything's on the table. Everybody's fighting to move up. Nobody's fighting to trade up in this draft. Nobody's fighting to trade up. And that's why the Raiders can't trade down. You look at the Lions, they missed the playoffs. They're wondering probably how they can retool and get better for next year. I think they could use something in the secondary. I think the Lions secondary has always been kind of suspect. Safety, corner, they can always use that. The Buccaneers, losing the legendary Levante David, definitely could use another linebacker. The Ravens, it's been a while since they missed the playoffs. We know what the Ravens can use. All right, if you don't know what the Ravens can use, I can tell you right now, wide receiver. Wide receiver. Okay, the Ravens have always needed a wide receiver, and we don't know. I mean, Lamar Jackson can always use more protection as well, but a wide receiver, they need a weapon. They need a legit weapon. And I mean, there's enough weapons in this draft class that can get them, Makai Lemon. I mean, somebody. I mean, Ravens, you need a receiver. All right, don't look at anything else but a receiver. If you can't get a receiver, then okay, you can go for a lineman. But one of those receivers, Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon, Jordan Tyson. I mean, somebody. Look at one of those. Hope one of those receivers fall into your lap, because that's what the Raiders. That's what the Ravens need. Minnesota Vikings. They're probably gonna be looking to revamp some of that defense. Some of their defensive players have gotten old. They got Kyler Murray out there now. The offense looks like it's in pretty good shape, or look like it's gearing up to be in good shape. Probably use another offensive lineman, but it's probably most likely going to be a defensive player being picked there. The Panthers, they pick receiver after receiver for the last couple of years. I think they're good on receivers. Probably need another offensive lineman to keep their quarterback up. Another defensive lineman wouldn't hurt. Maybe a tight end. Another weapon for another reliable security blanket for Bryce Young, who's kind of looking like he's starting to turn the corner. And you look at the Dolphins as well. The Dolphins is pretty much starting over. They can use whatever the best. Dolphins are a situation of best player available. As far as needs go, forget needs. You need the best player available. All right, you're starting off pretty much with a blank canvas, best player available. Same thing goes for the Jets. Kind of a best player available. You got 2 picks in the first round, best player available. Cowboys, don't even look at offense. You need defense. We're going to switch to the 28. Oh, wrong one. We're going to go to the 27 and 30. We'll go to 27 first, 21 through 27 first. There we go. Steelers. This is the other potential team in the Ty Simpson sweepstakes. They don't know what they're doing. Aaron Rodgers. I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers know what Aaron Rodgers is doing. So, you know, you see the suspense picking up. You're in the Aaron Rodgers business. You know, you gotta understand. You probably won't know what Aaron Rodgers is doing until training camp. So I can easily see them, using that first round, that low first round pick on making a reach for Ty Simpson. Like I said, if he's not gone by then, if the Rams don't pick him up, if the Jets don't take a chance on him, it's probably the Steelers, which is why I think at some point Ty Simpson, somebody's gonna take a chance on him, somebody's gonna try to work with him. And like I said, it's probably those 3 teams. It's either gonna be the Jets, it's either gonna be the Rams, or it's gonna be the Steelers. Chargers, um, I don't know how you can tell them to go for offensive line. They had an offensive line, everybody got hurt. Incredible amount of injuries on the offensive line. So I mean, it'd be surprising if they actually go back and get more. Because I mean, even though they didn't have an offensive line last year, it's not like they needed one. They just needed the offensive line to stay healthy. They could probably always use another receiver. The Eagles, interesting to see. They lost a couple good players in the offseason as well, so they can use um, a couple of retooling here and there. Probably gonna need another wide receiver because AJ Brown's about as good as gone. He's going to the Patriots in June. So yeah, the Eagles probably gonna be looking at receiver as well. Cleveland Browns, like I said, 2 picks in the first round. Whatever you can get. Whatever you can get. Anything but quarterback. We don't know if Shador or Deshaun Watson is starting. You're probably gonna get a receiver. At this point, you could probably get another. I don't know if you're gonna get an offensive lineman that low. Might get an edge rusher. It's a steal. And then you see the winning teams, the Bears, the Bills, the 49ers. And then you also see the Texans, Chiefs, Dolphins at the bottom again. Dolphins got 2 first-round picks as well. Patriots and Seahawks. Don't sleep on these bottom picks. There's always a steal at the bottom of the first round, especially in the first round. There's always a bottom of the first round steal. I mean, the first round is pretty much good all the way through. Um, this draft also kind of gives me vibes like there might be some good skill players in the mid rounds. Maybe a good running back, maybe a good wide receiver. I mean, it's deemed not a very strong draft in those positions, but I think the first round is pretty much got some really good players. Um, I don't think they're necessarily going to call this one the draft of the century, but I do think that it's going to be an interesting one, especially in the top 10 picks. Like I said, you see several teams with 2 picks, got a chance to get better quicker, fast track the rebuild or the retooling, and get to see, teams recover from the changes that they made to the teams as well. I'm excited, looking forward to it. It's going to be 7 o'clock. I'm going to be already perched in front of the house. I'm going to be parked on the couch getting ready to watch the previews and everything because it's about to go down. And then, of course, in the middle of that, watch a couple of these NBA playoff games and see how these developments emerge too, because it's almost any given game. I mean, you really get to the point in the NBA where there's so much parity in the league where you really can't call these series like this. It's almost turning into a March Madness with 7 games type of vibe. I know OKC is still pretty much the overwhelming favorite, but outside of that, I pretty much got nothing. And if OKC somehow gets sent home before the finals, I really have nothing. I mean, we're just gonna have to watch and stay entertained, stay tuned. Like I said, a lot of these teams are getting younger. Playoffs are changing. NBA teams that look like championship teams in the regular season don't look too good. Sometimes when the game changes and slows down in the playoffs and stuff, you start seeing teams get better. You see some teams don't look that. You start seeing teams get exposed as well. So these matchups are everything at this point, and I'm definitely keeping up with it, looking forward to it. Like I said, I got a double night ahead of me watching the draft and the playoff games. But yeah, that's my time for the night. Hope you all enjoying the games as well. Hope you all catching draft tomorrow night as well. And hope you catch me on Saturday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. I'll be doing the hip hop episode. Be back episode 27, hip hop. Like I said, tune into the channel, follow the channel, subscribe, like, comment, share, tell a friend, tell a friend. You can find me on Instagram at This Is Left Fresh. You can find me on TikTok at This Is Left Fresh as well. You can also find me on X as well. This is Left Fresh. But that's my time for the night. I appreciate you all jumping on. Much love to you all. And like I said, get through the rest of the hump. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I'll see you Saturday. Left Fresh podcast. Good night.